Fanatically Correct. Brought to you by us, fans like you, but mostly us.
I know.
Hey, asshole, when are you gonna give us the Shields and Swords episode? I just walked in here. I just saw this.
Stop
We still got
damn
to do
what you're
thing.
doing, bro.
sneakers. We still got to do sneakers. And
What are you
we did
doing?
In a dark corner of the world, three men will work together to bring you a podcast like no other. This is Fanatically Correct, where the fans, the geeks, and the nerds are always correct. With your host, MSK, Yo Peace, and Omega.
On this episode, I am hydrating to the wonderful taste of Zephyr Hills.
Oh,
The bottle says, "I'm not trash."
shoot.
Oh, thank you for the kind words, Zephyr Hills. Oh, they mean the bottle's not trash to recycle it. Oh, well, yeah, so much for that.
Oh,
That Zephyr Hills giving me a nice little life pep talk there. Like, you were not trash. Kind of needed to hear that right now, but I guess oh well. I guess oh well. Alrighty, so we're gonna do another episode. This is gonna be another Yomega episode. MSK is out of the office today. I am your host, Omega,
Yo, peace.
and today we're going to do something we like to do, which is do a topic. Doesn't have to necessarily be a currently trending topic. Topic. I'm gonna use the word topic a lot. Every time I say the word topic, take a shot.
Topic.
Yeah. The most recent one that we did like this, we did the automobiles from film and television, which is definitely something we'll revisit a couple other times because there was a lot of stuff we missed and things that we definitely could have dove into deeper. I'm gonna go with a twofer on this one. See if you like it with me, because so if you're currently listening to this episode, like you're listening to in the next month or so, hopefully,
Or
you
year,
are,
whatever comes first.
or whatever the case is. I'm going to do a twofer, mainly focusing on. Well, I think there's just going to be more of the second one, but we're going to do something different. I think a good topic is we had iconic automobiles. Let's go with iconic weapons throughout the nerdverse of film and television. Now, there's so many weapons. It's like you got to break it into category.
Okay.
So I'm going to use a lot of S's for this. I feel a good first go at this. And this way it's somewhat temporary, and a lot of times they kind of go together. They don't all have to go together as we start just spitballing ones out of the back of our minds. I'm thinking we go with swords and shields and swords. Obviously, because right now we're recording
why are we doing swords and shields and then shields and swords?
Well, I'm just saying it doesn't matter what direction. However you like to say it. We like to say a shield and a sword, or a sword and a shield. Whatever works for you. Whatever makes you happy how to say it.
In this topic, let me get it right. And I just want to let everybody know that we...
Oh, sorry. I meant to say swords and shields, or sword or shield.
Okay.
In other words, it doesn't have to be a combo. It can just be
and it
a
doesn't
sword,
have to be
or it
a
could
sword
just be
and a shield together.
Or it could be a combination of exactly. There's not a lot of the combination, actually. I could probably think of maybe two or three off the top of my head. I mean, we can go digging on into Google search and get up with a bunch of stuff. But really, I can only think maybe like at least quickly off the top of my head, two or three combos. Most of it's either going to be just a shield by itself or just a sword by itself.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I'll tell you right now, it's actually interesting because what I was saying of T-Fatwus, which is the Falcon. T-Fatwus. I love the T-Flatwus.
Yeah.
For the mechanic.
T-Flat.
T-Flat. It's a new tire repair shop. But yeah, for the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, we're not going to get into it all. I'm just going to say, obviously, the Captain America shield plays a big part in the series.
Yeah,
it's a shield. But I do know that it's actually more complicated to just be shield. Like, just sword makes a lot of sense. It's a defensive weapon as well as a offensive attack weapon. Shield's usually not, lately, because of Captain America and a little bit of Wonder Woman and stuff like that, it's become a useful attack weapon, offensive weapon, where usually you only think shield for defense, to block, to take away the impact, and then strike with the other hand, which is usually yielding a sword. So it is interesting that shield does have a little bit rough to be a standalone weapon. It's you would think it would be easier to name a shield sword combo, and definitely very easy, especially through the nerdverse of all the films and televisions we watch of all the different swords by themselves
that's going to
stand out there
all over.
So yeah, I guess I will start with a shield. I mean, because I brought it up, and obviously that's the Captain America shield.
Yeah, that's one. That's one of them.
So I mean, that's like, come on. I mean, it's iconic for a lot of reasons. Obviously, the design, it represents Captain America, so it has the stars and stripes on it, and of course, it has the whole logo. So obviously, you see that, right away. You're thinking Marvel, you're thinking Captain America, you're thinking Avengers. It's the most I think the most iconic shield probably out there. Period. I mean, it's the first shield you see right away. You know what it's referencing.
Yeah. I mean, you see the shield, automatically that is Captain America's shield, and it's had different versions of it, but yeah, you see that the stripes with the flag, the United States flag, and you always think Captain America. Like, it doesn't matter who's holding it, right? Like, we're getting that out of the way.
You know where you're getting into. And I got to tell you, especially thanks to the MCU and then bringing it to live action, it is nice seeing that shield get yielded as a weapon, man. You know what I mean? Like, just in Falcon Winter Soldier, still, even after this episode, because there is a team-up fight at one point. Obviously, it's Falcon and Winter Soldier together, so there's a bunch of team-up fights of the two of them versus different people. But I got to tell you, still... and as much as I love Captain America Winter Soldier, that's probably still one of the top preferred films of the MCU. The Captain America Civil War fight scene of Cap and Bucky against Iron Man, and the way that they bounce back the shield to one another, like, that is such a badass shield scene. I mean, of all the excellent shield scenes that we've gotten in all the Captain America movies and all the Marvel movies. And to me, that's like the first one that I think of like how action-packed and entertaining was to see the two of them together, you know what I mean? Bounce it back and forth and yield that shield. Especially the dramatic scene of that, friend fighting friend to protect another friend, but just the way that they, so perfectly were in sync with one another.
Yeah, if Bucky was using the shield like
his
forever,
whole life,
pretty much.
Yeah,
it was.
It's so cool.
That is a great scene. And they didn't do it. They didn't do it in. Did they do it in T-Fat?
T-Fat had some moments,
they tried
a little bit, because at that there's a fight scene, and at that time, obviously, Winter Soldier still has great skill with the shield, but Falcon had not yet really gotten his honed in practice on that,
right.
On how to handle that. And I do like I've seen some memes and I've seen a lot of stuff on the internet. Like the MCU, the Marvel producers, the directors of that show did work to make sense of the different ways that they catch the shield. It makes sense why the way Steve Rogers and the way Bucky would be able to catch a shield through superhuman strength,
right?
And especially Bucky with the one arm, where Falcon, Sam Wilson does not have super strength, so he has to really embrace that impact.
Yeah, he's got to use his whole body.
It can only be so realistic, you know what I mean? But still, that he has to embrace that impact, catch it with both hands, and it's more of a receive, like the way you catch a football or a baseball, you let it fall into the glove, so he has to let it cushion into the hands, because if not, he'll bust his hands. You know what I mean? He's not going to be able to handle that. But yeah, there's some. I got in the final episode. I will tell you that I do like some shielding that goes down in some of the action sequences there. But yeah, man, there's no better shielding weaponry of anything. I mean, you got Wonder Woman, that's a sword and shield together.
Yes.
But that's the combo. That's that Gladiator Spartan, like the 300, the Spartans.
We can go like really deep with if we start doing
exactly. But
shields,
that's that combo
shields.
shielding. So as far as watching, to me, if I think just a shield by itself, by far the most entertaining thing I've seen out there, and that is to this day is obviously the Captain America shield in the MCU. And it's great in video games. It's great in animation. To see it, but in live action, it's excellent. The way they have the technology to CGI that right, the way they do actually film some of it, with standard effects and stuff like that. It's just it's a badass shield, man. It's an excellent weapon. It's the Captain America shield.
I have to agree. It is a badass. And that's pretty much all he uses. Like and I mean. Nowadays, that's pretty much all he uses. So
that's all you need.
It's really it's a good one. It's a good one. I'm going to say.
Go ahead.
I'm going to say.
Shoot.
Zelda's shield, and I know it has a combination with the sword because it's back and forth.
Yes, but I get that, and you know what? So you're going in video game, like the video game shield is awesome because video games do have the tendency to break from what movies and television that do, which is shields have way more uses. Because I also remember like Castlevania, you can also upgrade and change your shield, and like in the different versions of Castlevania, you have different shields. Obviously, you can take on more impact, and some of them can actually deal out some damage. And Zelda, same thing. You have multiple different shields you can pick up, and it takes on damage. Out of all, I'm not as much of a Zelda player. That guy Zelda yielding this. I'm joking. It's Link. I'm not that bad. I'm not that bad.
Yeah.
I already had one nerd. Like if he was listening to his car, he was about to pull over to yell at me. But what's your favorite thing with that? Or favorite particular shield?
To be verified, like I don't know what nerd's gonna get out there. I said Zelda because people understand Zelda. That's the name of the title of the game. I don't want all these nerds to be like, oh, you don't really know about.
You didn't say Zelda's shield that he yields. You know what I mean? You said
right.
The shield
I
from
just
Zelda.
want to put it out there because people get all crazy about this. But no, I mean it's just a combination. I think you see that shield anywhere hanging, and I think you will recognize that is Link's shield. There, right?
I get what you're saying.
You'll see it. I mean, you can see it without the sword, and you'll say that's definitely Link's. Right? Like
you see a lot of replicas of that, like at cons. When you go to the cons and you go to those booths where they make the replica weapons and stuff like that for collectors, you do see quite a few of Link's shields out there. The shields from the Zelda game.
And it's nothing special about it. I mean, it just helps you, but it's not as cool as Captain America's shield. That's for sure.
Actually, I gotta tell you, when I think shield, if I got the next one I would think, and now this is a shield sword combo. I'm not going with 300, even though that's raw, because they use it as the way the Spartans. That's actually historic. The way they use shields to create a massive shield dome, and the way that they would use the shield for sighting and stuff like that. Right. But getting into the shield and spear combo for a second, but mainly because I want to focus on the shield. Troy, the fight between Achilles and Hector.
Yes.
That is like, there's so much shielding used in that, and like I can't think of any other like spear on it. It's so awesome because Gladiator, like every other film that you watch of that, you're going to see shield and sword combo, or just sword on sword, or you might just see spear on spear. But the shield and spear combo that they do between Achilles and Hector is badass. Yeah, like I mean, it's half the fight because then they switch the swords after they break them. But still, that is just such a raw scene to see that shield spear combo, the way they, and actually Achilles was a Spartan, because as the Spartans believe that they're direct descendants from Achilles, so that's the whole shielding technique actually kind of leads into that, into the 300. But yeah, if I gotta think of a good shielding in film or television or whatever, that scene, that's a raw shield. Now that's not a very iconic looking shield. That's just an iconic scene. They all look the same.
They all look kind of
it's like even
the
Wonder Woman's. Unless you actually see like the little eagle or the Wonder Woman logo somewhere on it, it just looks like a Spartan Roman gladiator.
Right.
The Rome period, a timepiece of shield. It's not that pop, iconic, I know this shield from a mile away type of situation. swords. I just maybe we get back to another Shield, but we're opening up the can of worms now with swords.
Oh boy, this is
this. Oh wow, this is gonna be fun.
See that?
I think we got to start spitting out like what's like the first that comes to mind, because I'm gonna pull up a list, but I'll let you shoot first. Like just before you look at a list too.
Well, I mentioned it before. Link's sword is pretty much one of the iconic ones that you'll reckon. I think most people would recognize anywhere. But if you want me to throw out another one, is that what you're looking for me to throw out another name?
No, that I wasn't even thinking to throw that out. But yeah, because obviously we're seeing the shield sword combo, but that one's just the sword alone is iconic. Same thing, you see that in cons. It shoots a laser. I really can't think of too many other swords that shoot shoot a beam of energy out of it. If they make a live action film ever of Zelda with a Link and that sword, that they got to put a lot of
That's
time
gonna be hard.
Into that sword.
It's going to be hard for them to actually get anything right in that. It's such a broad thing to make.
Yeah, I'm just gonna throw it out there. It's not really a sword; it's a saber. But just throw it. Lightsabers, yes, we recognize it. I'm not gonna get into that.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna get into that because that's a whole episode right there.
Yeah,
just talking about lightsabers, because you have the two-ended lightsabers now, and then you have like Dooku's lightsaber, and then Yoda's shorter end, the green lightsaber, and
Darth Maul's like double saber.
The double red.
Yeah.
Then you have Ahsoka from Ahsoka from now Mandalorian, so you actually see that live action. She yields a double lightsaber, two, one in each hand. It's an obvious. Yeah, we know lightsabers. That's iconic. You recognize it. It's hard to call it a sword. When I think sword, I think metal on metal.
Right.
So I kind of get away from, but. Since we're talking about a sword that does shoot light beams from it, just go ahead and get that out of the way of that light. Speaking of light, you know what? We could do this one for a little bit. The Hobbit.
The Hobbit, that's the
Goblin
Hobbit is a
sword
good one. Now you're talking about the Sting, right? The Sting, the one that he gets passed on from
down to Frodo, but
Frodo, yep.
Yeah, but he had it in the prequels.
In
the Hobbits, because it's the one that it glows right when
whenever there's orcs around, it actually.
Orcs, that's right. Orcs, yeah, that's right.
It actually glows up.
It glows or whatever. So yeah, that's an easy recognizable sword, and that's another one that does something different. Other than just because a lot of swords, exactly. Because a lot of swords are going to be like the iconic look. Not too many of them have a different usage when we start getting down the list of a lot of the other more iconic famous swords. So to kind of go with more like swords that just have different uses or do something different than exactly just stab or hit or slice and dice.
Of course,
is another one with that. And I'm sticking on that. He-Man.
Yes, He-Man's sword is that's a big one.
That's the one that has the power to turn him into He-Man.
Yeah, that's a massive. I don't even think I'll be able to hold.
No kidding. Yeah, a life version of that. Like you see, like there you go, Braveheart, the William Wallace sword. Like, dude, man, that thing's like twice Mel Gibson's size.
Yeah. Like, why is that even? Like, come on, guys, lie to me.
To hop around a bit, you got the Conan sword. Like, yeah, Conan the Barbarian can yield that William Wallace sword, but that's a very big sword for not. And Mel Gibson's a tough dude, especially now older. He's gotten all dieseled in his older age, but still, man, that's ridiculously that's such a giant sword.
It is.
But He-Man's the same thing. The live action version of that. I mean, okay, so far the only live action version we had was the one with Dolph Lundgren, which a real big guy having to yield that real big sword. Except in that movie they didn't use it to transform him. He was just always He-Man. He wasn't the prince that transformed.
He was always in that mode. So here's another sword for you.
Okay.
Thundercats.
Yes, that was the next one I was thinking. It's hard to break He-Man. You think sword and He-Man, and you're gonna think automatically sword and Thundercats.
Yeah,
Thundercats. Oh, it would grow, right? It was like a small dagger, and it would like lengthen.
Somewhat,
right? Something like that. It would get a little longer.
Yeah,
so you can yield it.
We're not doing that right now.
Wrong
so
show.
yes, I'm gonna say yes.
It was a grower, not a shower. So MSK's gonna edit that out.
Yeah. I don't think he is now that you
He's
said
gonna
it.
leave
So
it just to make us
to
make us feel awkward.
Yep.
But yeah, no, that's a raw sword too. And that one's icon. That one you see it on the cons too. That one's easily recognizable because it has the Thundercats logo
right
in the middle of the base and the handle area. That one you see right away. That is a raw sword. I mean, you gotta throw like if there's only one sword you can have as a weapon. Like for you,
That's a hard thing
because the He-Man sword has the ability to turn you into a He-Man. You know,
yeah,
just like some
but
big.
Do I really want to be He-Man? It's
but then the Link sword has the ability to shoot. So like basically, it's like a firearm. Like I can just like I don't have to get close in close quarters with this. I don't live in a world where I have to worry about orcs. You know what I mean? Like, dude, that would suck to get that sword and it's always glowing. You just have like orcs all around us and we don't know that. Everywhere you go, there's orcs. Like, oh crap! They just like they've evolved, so they don't look like orcs anymore.
That's funny.
Yeah, you know what? Another one with that is what was the name of Jon Snow's sword? It had a name. Was it Claw? White Claw?
Well. Now that you mentioned,
because about big swords for smaller people, it's the same thing.
The needle was a good one.
Yeah. See, what a functional sword. That reminds me of like the Antonio Banderas movie, 13th Warrior, with the Vikings and stuff, that he makes the smaller functional sword. And Needle's the same thing, man. That is one functional sword. Functional for her, you know, her ability. And that's what I like about the Sword Master has that made for her, because like that's like it's about the skill, and it's about how you correctly yield this weapon. You don't need to go all oversized, you know, large. And that's like the funny thing, because that's what I was going into. Like with Jon Snow, he's trained to use a big sword, even though he's not, you know, a very big guy. I think it was Long Claw. Look at the name. Long Claw.
That's what it was.
Long Claw. You know, but and same thing. So he's wielding this big, huge sword. I mean, you know, he knows how to fight with it, but like it seems almost impractical for the size and skill set of the yielder. And that's why I like that the 13th Warrior, you know, that's not very an iconic story or whatever, but just the point that the sword in the story of that, where
I don't know if a lot of people actually have seen of our listeners have seen Warrior? 13th Warrior.
Yeah, that's an excellent film. That might be our necessity.
It's one of those that movie is one of those hidden secrets. Like it's a good movie.
A hidden gem. I think you know what? I'm calling it early. We'll talk about it later in depth later. I think that's a necessity. You just made it easy, so we don't have to like hunt for one later. We already have a necessity in advance. So coming soon, you're gonna hear more about the 13th Warrior with Antonio Banderas. So yeah, that's that. But I like that. I like and you know what? We could have done this, and I think for the next part we'll do that, because right now we're just like spitballing, throwing them out there. We have the same scenario right now. We're just going with iconic, the look, the style, and kind of playing with it. But just like automobiles, it's almost the same thing. You can easily say,
you can break it down into so many categories.
Exactly. Category 1, it's about the sword. So it might not be an iconic sword. Example, Princess Bride. There's a lot of swords that look like that, you know what I mean, that make that dueling style sword with the beautiful handcraftsmanship, whatever. But there's a lot about that particular sword, you know, which is not the Dread Pirate Roberts, actually Indigo Montoya's sword that his father made it, and the whole story with that, and that's a beautiful sword. You can make a pretty good guess that that's the sword if you see it like at a con or, you know, online or whatever, without it being tagged as to what it is, because of the elaborate style that it has to it. But example, that's the whole thing with Pirates of the Caribbean. Also, they did that with Will Turner and the sword, because he's also a sword maker. So you have the whole thing where it's like a very lovely, nice looking sword, and that's the one. Yeah, actually, in Pirates of the Caribbean, they always say like nice sword, which they also do. And I kind of think they're almost doing a throwback to Princess Bride, where he says that to him when he gets the sword. He goes, "It's a nice sword." The Dread Pirate Roberts says it. He goes, "You know, it's a nice sword," and he leaves him with it. He doesn't steal it from him, so he's not that much of a pirate.
It is a very nice looking sword. Like. It's a very iconic look to the swords. And when we're talking about swords, I mean swords like I like, you know, I'm big on swords, like not big on the names and everything, but I used to collect swords, like, let's just put it that way, and then I gave them up, but I was always into swords. And like another one, I don't know why, very simple sword, but you know, Three Musketeers swords
Yes, same thing.
It's one
that
of
was
those.
The same thing. The one where Chris O'Donnell had a whole thing with that about the sword, about the look on it, the style, whatever, and that's the thing. At the end of the day, like I like that they do that because if you watch like the Count of Monte Cristo, where they don't bother putting that in the side story, and other Three Musketeer movies, like it's a fencing sword. At the end of the day, it's a fencing sword. They all look kind of nice. If anybody was of royalty or whatever, they it's almost like pistols during the Wild West. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing you always carried with you, used it all the time. Everyone had different looking, nice looking swords because they took their pride in it, you know what I mean? Because the whole concept is that they're swordsmen, that they're very good at at sword fighting, and therefore they have an honor with that, so they have a look and a style that they want to keep, so you go with that. A lot of them, you're not going to be able to tell them apart. You know what I mean? I think probably because of the gold and all that, The Princess Bride, if you put a bunch of the different movies with fencing swords in it, might be the one that you'd be able to
you'll be able to pick it out. Yeah.
Exactly. It's almost like Excaliburs. There's so many Excaliburs.
Yep. Excalibur sword.
That's the story's all about the sword. But if you line up a bunch of Excaliburs, you're gonna have a hard time saying which Excalibur movie it's from. If it's from King Arthur, if it's from First Knight, is it from Excalibur? Is it like there'll be a lot of play with that. And on top of it, you just start throwing a bunch of medieval swords period in there, you might have a hard time depicting it. So it really it's an iconic sword in name and story, not so much in look. And there's yet to be like a specific version of Excalibur. I just look and go, oh yeah, that's Excalibur.
Yeah.
Because even like the animated series which you talked about, the one where Arthur King, where the knights go back into the football team.
Yes,
goes back in time.
Yeah, oh my god, I remember that. Yes,
I like that cartoon, man.
Yeah.
That was a raw cartoon.
I remember that.
I kind of messed up if you really start thinking about it, because it's like they were with. Whatever. Kids were watching it, so they didn't have to get into the nuances of like, well, the real King Arthur and all these knights are frozen, but somehow Merlin did some magic, and Lady Guinevere and all these wives of all these knights and stuff, like, have no clue those aren't her husbands.
Like, what's going on here?
But as a kid, you weren't thinking about any of that because they weren't showing any of that stuff. You know what I mean? Just like, but he was King Arthur, and Guinevere was his wife, and they were husband and wife. And like as an adult,
and he was younger. I mean,
yeah, it's like, but same thing. You know what I mean? Like you can't Excalibur is just a sword in name and story. After that, I have yet to really think of a particular version of Excalibur. Like, oh, that's Excalibur, and I could pick it out of a lineup. Any day of the week.
I'm the same way. It's one of those, it's one of those, like, if you put a bunch of swords together, good luck.
Yeah, it's like the barbarian swords. I even throw the William Wallace sword in there. But if you put, the Conan the Destroyer sword, the Conan the Barbarian sword, you throw in the William Wallace sword, and you throw in like the sword. You throw in some Game of Thrones swords from the cow, the Khal Drogo. Even though they have more of like the saber, the side slice one. You start lining all those up, I'm gonna have a hard time.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with the samurai sword. The samurai sword is like basically in function. It's always great for a badass character, and it makes for great action sequences. Most samurai swords you're not going to be able to tell apart from other samurai swords.
Nope.
You line up the Kill Bill sword, that has great samurai sword scenes. You line up maybe the blade one.
Well, you will be able to tell, for example, the Leonardo's sword.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because it's so simple.
Because it's simple. It's got that blue.
Well, number one, you see two of them next to each other.
And you got the blue. And that's it. You'll be able to tell, that's a samurai. That's Leonardo's.
Yeah,
that has to be
those
Leonardo's.
are Leonardo swords. Yeah, I see that because of the simplicity. And I even go with blade because same thing. It's so simple. And then by the grip because they've made a deal about the grip. And usually when people put it on display, they have the fake needles coming out of the handle because that's like the iconic thing that if it doesn't match his fingerprints, boom, you're going to get nailed with prongs in the hand. So you have that, but overall, like samurai swords, you line up all the different iconic samurai swords from all the different films. Michonne's samurai sword from, Walking Dead, the Kill Bill one, like I said, all the different ones they've used in Highlander. Both McLeods are samurai sword guys as they get later in time. Like, you know what I mean? Like you start lining all those up, like you're just like, yeah, it's I don't know. I don't know.
It's a sword.
That's a good challenge. That is a good, like, I'm going to do that. Like, that'd be we got to see if someone has an image already set up online of all those different
and just
swords.
Erase all the names.
Erase all the names and see if people can A through whatever. And even like you give the names but out of order somewhere else on the side list, give it a little bit of chance. But yeah, it's just that would be so hard to samurai swords and medieval swords like Excaliburs and samurai swords. Like, good luck.
Yeah,
Good luck.
I agree. I agree with that one. Back to swords. Let me see.
You know what? Looking at one, I'll tell you one I would recognize right away. It's a particular Gladius, and it's not the one from 300 because that matches all the ones. It's actually the sword from Gladiator, the one that's given the wooden one, and the one that was actually given to him as being the general.
Okay.
Because it has like I can't think of any other sword from those movies that looks exactly like that. Like a lot of like Spartacus, stuff like that. They have obviously for the same era.
That one is
so
like what? That one is like a white looking one or whatever.
Yes, it's like a white handle, and it's like it just goes right into the blade, like you know the side part. Like if I see that, like for the most part, I don't think anybody's making replicas of that for anything else other than the one from Gladiator. Like I don't see like even 300 or what's the second of 300 the second part 2 of it or even Spartacus the series. There you go. That's right. The 199 Pinchy films. A mí no me come la pata. That's great stuff. But yeah, and because even Game of Thrones though, remember they melt down Ned Stark's sword, the Valyrian steel. I mean, that's a new term. Valyrian, vibranium, animanium, like all the made up metals. We need to have the nerd periodic chart of all the metals.
I'm sure it's out there.
I know more fake metals than real metals.
I'm pretty sure if we research that right now, we can find a chart with fake
I bet you someone's done it. Yeah, for sure. And sadly, I'll have to say I do know more nerd metals than real life ones. But yeah, remember they had the one that they made for Jamie, and then he gave the other one for Joffrey and Jamie, and then he gave the bigger one to Brianna Tarth, and then I don't know where Joffrey's sword ended up because Joffrey got
because they stabbed him.
Yeah. Well, no. Then he get poisoned.
I'm just saying. I was just trying to do a joke, but it came out wrong. And terrible.
So the Gladiator one, I'm trying to see. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these, like the Kill Bill one. Yeah, Zelda. Yeah, I recognize that right away. And the Zelda shield.
There's a sword that, even though I personally I'm not a fan of these games, this sword, I see it and I always think of a character, which is the Final Fantasy sword.
The big giant one that's like way too big for any human to yield. Yeah. And you see tons of those.
Buster sword or something. It was called something like I see that sword and I always think, oh, that's Final Fantasy sword. That's from Final Fantasy. I don't care what you tell me.
I agree with that. Yeah, the oversized sword. Yeah, I same thing. I always think Final Fantasy also. Even though a lot of anime now and do that. I've been doing that. I catch Adult Swim and you see a lot of different animes that have that. The people with the oversized, swords that and they're battling with them and stuff like that.
Right.
But yeah, I same thing. I think Final Fantasy right away when I see that. Which is the other one that's like a big key sword. Isn't that also Final Fantasy?
That's the video game.
Okay.
What's that little fantasy game that has all the Disney characters in it? And man,
that's not Final Fantasy. Kingdom.
Yes,
Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts. There we
go. I just went blank there for a second, but yeah, that's that key, that little key thing.
Actually, hold on. I just had one a second.
I got another sword if you're ready.
Go ahead.
And another game that I don't care about, but there was a lot of fans of it, and it was the Halo sword.
Okay, yeah, that's like the double blade, right? Like a double with the
it's
space
a double
in the
blade.
middle.
That's one of those iconic. You see that and you know that's Halo. Like,
it right away. Yeah, and I never really played Halo or anything, but yeah, same thing. It's so iconic and out there already that you recognize it right away. You know what? One for me, I think right away, same thing. Go back to the '80s cartoons. So our age bracket, especially, they see it, they know it. Dark Waters.
Dark Waters.
The broken sword. The Dark Waters, the broken sword. Like you see that sword right away, you know what's up. You know where it's from.
Oh my God.
And what a handicap, because that kid was always fighting pirates with, full complete swords with a half a sword. Always had to get close quarters for his fights because he didn't have the full length. That's a good. Dark Waters is awesome. Yeah, I'm thinking so many. Oh man, samurai swords are like this. I'm going through here.
It's so hard. It's a hard.
I could not tell
samurai
these apart.
swords is a hard thing to.
Yeah, I will not be able to tell these apart. So many samurai sword wielders. You have Snake Eyes. A G.I. Joe.
Yeah,
has a well. I don't. That's a ninja sword, but ninja sword, samurai sword. They're
pretty much
the katana blade, and the samurai are pretty close. Yeah, because actually, that's Leonardo's isn't a samurai. His is a katana blades. Are his. I guess,
now, blades, are we considering blades kind of like swords? Like, are we doing that or not?
I get. Oh, you know what? That's that one right away, whether you're a Star Trek fan or not. The Klingon one. The Baklaf, I think it's called the Baklaf. Oh man, I was the next. Yeah, hold on. I gotta say that right. I'm a Next Generation fan too. Baklaf. Yeah, Klingon. I want to say it properly. Klingon.
No, just say. I think it's Batleth. Batleth?
Wait, you say with a British accent.
That's the only way I'll get to
Batleth. Yeah, it's a Batleth.
There you go. See?
Batleth. Yeah, Worf was a beast with that. You know what? I don't remember if they ever used that at all in the original series. I think that's something that came later in Next Generation, and then they brought it back to for the prequel stuff because it's so badass. I don't know about how functional that really is. Their knives are pretty raw too, but it's a bad look. It's badass look, and that's just something too. I think you recognize it right away. You look at it whether you watch a lot of Star Trek or not. I think that's that Klingon thing.
Yeah,
I think that's
definitely. I mean, I say I would recognize it. There's a lot of people that really don't watch Star Trek, which is I don't understand. But whatever. I'm not gonna get into that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even also blades, I guess swords. You have the side blades of Raphael, Katana, Melina. Who was the other one from Daredevil? What's her name from Daredevil? That Jennifer Gardner played her. That she was also in the Daredevil series too. What's why can't I remember her name now?
You talking about Electra?
Electra, there we go. Electra Nachos.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's the same thing. I'm just saying she had the same thing. The side again.
The sides.
You put hers next to Raphael's, next to Katana's, next to Melina's, next to I can't tell that part.
Raphael's might have that little bit of red on it, right? Like does wrap it with a little bit of red?
And also the simplicity, just the wrap brown. You know what I mean? Keeping it simple.
So you might recognize Raph's, but you won't recognize anybody else's.
You know what? Speaking, I'm going to go with the long claw. Man, that is a raw looking sword, though. See, that one actually you could tell right away because it has and remember, and they never did anything with that. Remember, the head is the wolf head, the white wolf, which is perfect for Jon Snow. So that one you would recognize right away. And remember, there was the whole thing that the eye opened when he was in the water and he came to life, and they never explained that. They just never went back to why that was a thing and why we're not going to hear about it. But long claw. Yeah, in fairness, is a fairly pretty as recognizable one because of the wolf head on the end.
Speaking of a head on a sword,
on the handle,
the white Power Ranger sword.
Yes, you know what? That's actually easy. That's a real easily recognizable sword. Also, is the White Ranger sword.
Yep.
You can kind of get a good guess of any of the Power Ranger swords that it's a Power Ranger sword.
I mean,
but that one specifically, you know what I mean? They all have,
I think even
they have their style to them.
The Red Ranger with the sword also had a sword.
Yeah, that's why the Red Ranger had a sword. Didn't the Green Ranger have a sword also when he was green?
He had the little dagger. He had the
flute. That's right. He had the flute dagger.
He had the bud knife, whatever it was.
On the scene, the Halo swords. Yeah, it's like a really long.
Yeah.
Stabby dagger thing.
Oh, a sword, another video game. See, I'm back into video games. I'm just like video games. Now, this one is very iconic, and it's the sword in the God of War. The God of War, the blades, the blades of man. That is an iconic two swords because it's attached with a God, I'm going blank right now, but it's attached with
a chain,
on
with a chain
on
with
both
a-
ends. Yeah, it's got the
Yeah.
little. I don't know if it's a
Yeah, the
chain because
chain
it's
with
really
it's
but
yeah.
it's attached to it, and you can go.
It's got like a blade
buck
at the end
wild.
of it. Yeah,
You can go
yeah.
buck wild with that on,
With that
on the
blade.
game.
It's almost like a Morning Star blade. It
Yeah.
has a thing going with it. Yeah, it's raw. That is raw. You know what? The Zorro sword. See, another fencing
Zorro,
sword.
I mean, that's another. You know, that's. I could say that's another. You can throw that in with the fencing swords of
exactly. I would have a hard time.
And good luck calling that one the Zorro sword.
Yeah, I have a hard time. See, because I'm looking at the blade sword. The blade sword is easy also because it's a katana blade, but the tip of it, because he uses the stab,
Right.
It doesn't do the samurai cut and it doesn't do the katana cut. It actually does a straight, almost like a sword, a base sword, like a medieval sword. It points to the end, almost like what's it called, a needle. So that's why the blade one's because it starts out looking like a samurai or a samurai sword or katana blade, and then it ends with like a standard sword tip. So that's like another reason why you can kind of right away recognize the blade sword. You know, with the Excalibur ones, I always think this: what of all the Excalibur movies, they've made a lot now.
Oh man, good.
What do you like the most? I think mine's is pretty predictable. Of what I'm going to say.
You think yours is very predictable?
I think so. I think I'm predictable in the sense of all the basically King Arthur movies of the one that I like the most.
You like the one from Excalibur itself, the movie?
Yeah, Excalibur. Yeah, I prefer that film over all the other ones. Yeah, first 9. And I will tell you one thing that was pretty cool about did you see the one with the guy from Sons of Anarchy with Jax?
I started watching that. I never finished that movie.
Never saw it? Well, spoiler alert. I'll go ahead and ruin it for you. I know you're obviously we weren't that into it. It's not that good of a movie. I didn't enjoy it that much. But I will give it credit that the thing that they made that was cool with that Excalibur, because usually the Excaliburs you always get is that it can cut through anything. You cut through a shield, cut through another sword, cut through any surface. It's just the strongest blade out there. Is usually the lore you'll get with an Excalibur. In that one, it basically made you the Flash.
Oh,
is what it did.
Okay. And so should I rewatch that movie?
Maybe because while you yield the sword, it kind of takes you into like, and I say the Flash specifically, I wouldn't say a speedster, because you go into like a Speed Force type situation where you're moving faster, but everyone else is slowing down, and it has like this magical, mystic, like almost like the way the Hobbit does when he puts the ring on, and he goes into almost like another dimension while he's invisible, and it's that, and then in real time, everyone else they're just getting hacked in seconds by like what the like what's this happening? Like,
what was the name of that movie? King Arthur? That was King Arthur.
I think it was King Arthur. That's the one with Jude Law. Like it's worth a first run. You know what I mean? I won't ruin everything about it, but it's just. I like Excalibur because I really liked that I read, King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, and I read Excalibur in middle school, and that was around the time, that movie came actually a little bit before that, but it was the first movie available that I was able to watch. Very adult for a kid to watch too. Very adult.
Nothing Patrick about Stewart's the 80s and the 90s when we were growing up. No kidding.
But Patrick Stewart's in it, Liam Neeson's in it, so a lot of actors that we know today that are huge actors, weren't really big actors at that time. Then, but you had a good cast, you had good acting, you had a good story, and it was just so epic. I mean, it has the music that it even has that, and it's just such an epic film. And considering the effects and stuff they didn't have, they think they did a great job with some pretty epic battle scenes and magical fights and stuff like that. Because you have the animated version of the Disney one. The what is it? King Arthur. Is it Arthur? Sword in the Stone. Sorry. The series was actually pretty good on Starz.
Kid Arthur, that was a movie too, right?
Yes. Yeah, Kid Arthur. Yeah, a Kid in King Arthur's Court or something like that was another one. They've had so many.
Quest for Camelot.
Quest for Camelot. First Night, which is the one with Richard Gere or Sean Connery plays King Arthur.
Sean Connery.
I'm not a Spaniard. Here, I'm actually British. I'm not Scottish. I'm British. And I swing Excalibur, my favorite sword of all.
Oh, man.
By Lady Guinevere. I'm only borrowing your Humvee.
Excalibur is a good one. Excalibur is a good one.
I'll tell you, the series on Starz was actually pretty good.
Never seen it.
You check it out. I mean, unfortunately, it ends with a big why didn't they give me more seasons type of situation. But I gotta say, it's a good series, man, and it has some recognizable, like the Morgana, the sister is the actress from Penny Dreadful. from the good Penny Dreadful.
I do like. Yeah, you got to say that before you say.
Yeah. They're not that City of Angels crap. Which I can't remember her name now, but she's in a lot of movies and shows. She's a big actress. She's in it, so she's young. So this is like before she was really that big. Ray Fiennes, who's already a big actor, time he plays Merlin. And they do things because they separate Excalibur and the Sword and the Stone in that series.
Yeah.
They're two different swords, actually. And in other words, Excalibur is the sword given by the Lady of the Lake, and then the Sword and the Stone is a separate sword that decides who is, the king of Camelot and all that, of all of England or whatever. So it's pretty interesting how they actually take there's still magic because it's still Merlin and all that, but then outside of that, there's more of like a realistic approach to things also.
Right.
Like they explain how the Sword and the Stone works, like scientifically, on their end. And it's not something like aliens, DNA or something like that.
It's gravity.
Yeah. It's not the History Channel. It's not the History Channel where aliens set it up.
It's gravity. Yeah, no, for sure. It's gravity.
So it has something to do with that. But then there's also, it's dark too. There's a lot of dark things that happen. Like they explain the lady in the water and all that. And it kind of goes a route with, remember what was the Hercules that The Rock did? Where and that's another Hercules.
Hercules. Yeah,
remember where a lot of his
remember Hercules, and I'm like,
I know
Rock Hercules, but I do remember that movie was made. But
remember that the whole shtick with that movie is that a lot of his stories were made up by his crew.
Yeah. People were like just making him bigger than what he was.
Yeah, but then there is more to it later on. Same thing. There's a lot of things that Merlin's making up to build up the lore of King Arthur, but then there's things that really are happening. So it's an interesting take on it. I would recommend it. I mean, it's not. I mean, I kind of would throw this under necessity, but I can't because they only give you one season. So unfortunately, I'm telling you to watch a show that you're going to feel empty when it ends because they never came back and did any more seasons.
That's not good.
So I'm definitely sticking with 13th Warrior as a necessity.
Helping me, or you're just like trying to mess
I'm talking you into it and talking you out of it at the same time.
That's awesome. I appreciate that. That is awesome.
So, but
man, I'm sure there are weapons that we already have missed, and we're gonna get it. We're gonna get it again. We're gonna get the emails. We're gonna get the phone calls.
For sure, MSK is gonna have a bunch for us.
Yeah.
He was a Halo guy, so he'll go more into depth with the Halo stuff. Oh, I'll tell you, the Pirates of the Caribbean. What was it? Blackbeard's sword. Was it Blackbeard? No, Blackbeard would. He turned the ship small. Who was it that the Flying Dutchman, where the sword controls? Which one is it? Which ship is it that the sword controls the ship?
I don't.
Or the winds?
Is that the bad movie? Is that part 3?
I think. Wait, no, it's not. Is it part 3? No. There's one where at the end it's Blackbeard's. It's Blackbeard's sword that it controls like the winds and the waters. And because at the end of that one, what is it? Barbosa. He gets that sword at the end. That's not okay because part 3 is the good one. That's when they all go to war.
Is
and
that
all
the
that.
good one? Which was the one that they go to the island?
I like all the parts. I like part.
Which is the one that he fights the Kraken?
That's part 2 and 3.
That's part 3.
Yeah, the one with Blackbeard's sword is the one with Penelope Cruz. That's part 4.
There's a really bad one that I don't even know how they were able to continue make another movie.
I'll take Pirates of the Caribbean over Fast and the Furious.
No, I mean you can't. I'm not here to compare oranges to apples.
I know.
I'm not here to compare that.
Yeah,
I know
I'm joking.
Pirates of the Caribbean, it's a better, 100% better movie overall than the Fast and the Furious franchise.
Yeah,
I get that.
I just had to throw that out there because I'm getting defensive.
There was a really bad one where he was like fighting a Kraken, and I don't even know what the movie's about, to be honest with you. I think I don't even remember what the movie's about. I just remember scenes from that movie. That's all. Yeah. I remember them going through like a type of I want to say like an island, like a dark island, like a Caribbean island, and it was like dark and there was like witches. It was a weird movie, man. It was a real weird movie. So that was a really bad one, and I have no idea how they were able to get another movie after that. Yeah. But moving on,
I just brought up that story because it does something. It did a thing, but it actually looks very similar to the Dark Water sword, just like a little longer.
Okay,
because it's not a broken sword. Like it's made on purpose. to look like that.
Which
Is basically what it-
which do you think? Now going back to swords, which we went over, like we went really quick through it because obviously everybody knows that Jedi, the Jedis and
lightsabers,
the lightsabers,
of
and
course.
those are they're swords, and we know you can recognize that anywhere. But which one do you think is the most famous one in your eyes? Like, what do you
right now?
Like when you
now, the most recognizable one that you know right away which lightsaber it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, first of all, it's gonna be the Darth Maul one because it's the double end red. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's right away. You know that's Darth Maul. So that was already a game changer. But right now, Mandalorian, and actually, I'm glad you brought this up so I can remember something I forgot. The black saber,
the black saber,
the Mandalorian black saber. Right away, you know that's the Mandalorian saber. There's no other black lightsaber.
Do you think that's the most famous one out of the whole? Like, let's talk generations. Like throughout whole generations, you think that's the most famous one?
I think through all the movies, it's gonna have to be the Darth Maul one. It's the most recognizable.
I think so too.
It's the most recognizable. Storyline wise, it's obviously gonna be Anakin's first lightsaber that ends up becoming Luke's lightsaber. You know what I mean? Because the story and the impact of it, going back from the father to the son, and he uses it against his father because then it was the one that Obi-Wan gave him, and all everything that connects there. That storyline wise, but if you line up a bunch of lightsabers together, outside of obviously now because it's the most currently trending one, and it's black, well, that's it. The light color is completely different from all the other ones. It's obviously going to be Darth Maul's because you have the double lightsaber. And I'll tell you now, next to that would have to be Ahsoka's because now they're white in the Mandalorian. They're like white. Which Luke had a white one when they made it because I guess it's something with the crystals that they cleansed it or whatever. I don't know. I don't read the comic books and the novels and all that get more into depth with that. But yeah, hands down, the most recognizable is going to be the Darth Maul
I
one.
think I agree with you, man. I think Darth Maul has to be overall the most famous.
Well, in fairness, I gotta say,
because of the double.
You know what? I'm insane, and because I actually own a replica of it. It was a pretty penny back in the day because now there's a lot of replica light. Now you can go to Disney theme parks and get a lightsaber made. They have a whole experience for that.
You can make your own.
Exactly. You go to the cons, you make your own. They have them there. The thing, but I got it back before that was a thing. I got the Mace Windu one because of that iconic color, purple.
Yep.
Purple. No one else has the purple, and that was specifically requested by Samuel L. Jackson. Mm-hmm. And George Lucas made an exception. Didn't care if it meant anything. And you know what? I don't know if he was planning when he said like, yeah, you know what, we could do that because we have in the works,
this whole other idea.
Yeah.
So,
Lucasfilm has this idea where in Clone Wars and stuff, they're gonna have a cave that has a bunch of different colored crystals. That or Samuel Jackson, they got to owe him credit that, hey, you know what, you opened the world to more colors than blue, green, red.
Yeah,
that's pretty much all you had, blue, green, red, and which is funny because at first it was just blue and red, and then we got the greens because Yoda and stuff like that, and we started getting the greens, and then then we got the purples. But
then you smash them together and you get that little purple.
Yeah,
so,
exactly, the blue and the red.
So I mean, it works out. It works out.
Pretty clever,
man. Shields is a hard thing to come up with. Like, I'm trying to think of a good shield. And I mean, I mean, right now, as we speak, I'm probably gonna get out of this and go play some Valhalla as it is. And there's shields there. There's you get to upgrade shields and things like that. But it's just like it's just like a regular Viking shield. Like there's nothing crazy about it. Like there's nothing that is gonna be recognizable.
That's what it is. So you have nothing else? There wasn't something else you wanted to bring up?
And as it is, you can always listen to our podcast on fanaticallycorrect.com. That would directly straight to our Podbean site. You'll be able to follow, like, and rate us. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and I'm sure there's other ones that we haven't even figured out or know how to even access. You can follow us on our social media websites using the @handle of FanCorrect for Twitter, Instagram, or just search for Fanatically Correct on Facebook and YouTube. Please subscribe. Hit that notification, that bell. Things are not coming at the speed that we would like to, but like we always say, it's a broke podcast, so we all have jobs, and it's a little harder. It's getting even harder, but we're trying here. And finally, you can always email us at contactfancore@gmail.com. That's contactfancore@gmail.com, and leave us a voicemail also at 786-704-8404. Please make sure that you can call us without getting charged. We can't pay for that bill, man. So if you cannot call us, don't call us. But you can always, reach out to us by other means. So that's about it. That's where you can find us. Oh, and when did you say the link tree? We have a link tree.
Yeah, link tree. It's at FanCorrect, the same handle we have for Twitter and Instagram, and it links. It's a tree of links.
It's got everything there. It's got everything there. You just click that, and then it'll take you to everything where you can follow us and just look out for newer content. So.
Well, this is going to be a shorter episode, so we're going to go ahead and wrap this up with what I mentioned, the 13th Warrior. So anyways, I'm trying to look at for the Vikings name, but yeah, the base story is Antonio Banderas. He's an ambassador over to the Viking peoples from the Middle East. He's a Muslim ambassador, actually, which they kind of touched on in Vikings at one point. Bjorn does go that way and meet with different people, other behavior than Norsemen. Ibn Fadlan. I'm not good at pronouncing that name. That's the name of the
Beowulf. That was the name.
Beowulf. That's Beowulf? That's supposed to be Beowulf?
Yes, man. Come on.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah,
That's not supposed to be Beowulf.
I swear to you, man.
It is Beowulf.
I swear to you, man. I love this movie because of it was Beowulf.
That's crazy.
Yes, sir. I
didn't think of that because I think of the animation one of Beowulf.
Right.
Beowulf.
Yeah. I remember because I read the book. I remember reading the book, and then they made the movie, and I was like, "Oh man, this is Beowulf." That warrior, and I got to see
that story
the movie.
in that. Is that story in there of the 13th Warrior of the when they fight the Death Eaters or they're cannibals. I mean, they are.
They're cannibals. But that's the thing about Beowulf. Like when you're reading the book itself, you're thinking, man, is this really what's happening, or is it like, or is it like?
So I think what they're doing with bigger? That movie,
or is it bigger than what it is? You know what I mean?
It's this is interesting. I don't want to ruin it because we're giving us a necessity, so obviously we don't want to spoil too much. But what they're doing is they're actually giving, and I like when movies do this, a realistic concept and possible story for one of his mythological stories.
Yes.
So in other words, something that, this is obviously I'm saying it's a more realistic world. There isn't going to be actual monsters.
No.
Like I said, it involves cannibalism, stuff like that. But there is something that happens. Where there's a monster. Yeah, there is. Oh, this is interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, that extra little nugget. I'm going to watch that again. I haven't seen that movie in forever.
It's good.
But I really enjoy it. I love Antonio Banderas' character. I love the concept of what we brought up earlier about the swords because they all have the big. And there's a whole scene with that. There's one Viking that he's on the smaller side.
Yep.
But of course, he's fighting with the Viking, weaponry and stuff like that. But it's a very entertaining film. Excellent standalone movie. Action-packed. And has a good story to it. It's one of my more favorite Antonio Banderas films, actually, for me.
I agree.
Is 13th Warrior. So that's a little bit of shields, a whole lot of swords, and obviously way more swords to come. We could do more in depth of storylines about swords, and
there are so many part twos to everything that we still have not touched on.
Well, because this is something we'll definitely revisit with MSK, so he'll have a different take. He'll take some notes and tell us, how did you forget this? How did you forget this? And then, of course, same thing.
And
our
then I'm going to tell
will do
him
the same
straight
thing.
up, just by forgetting.
We winged it.
Yeah. We literally
falcon winged
we literally
it.
call each other. We're like, hey man, you want to record? Yeah, let's record. All right,
let's record. All right, let's talk about swords. That's what that's what this is. You know what? Those are going to be our personal conversations from now on too. If you call me, you're like, hey, what's up? How's it going? We're good. Let's talk about swords.
Yeah, that's it.
Nice. Let's talk about frisbees.
Yeah.
Let's talk about airplanes.
That's good. I like it. Let's do
movies.
Let's do it.
You got to find a way to mic our phone so we can always record it.
That's funny.
So thank you for joining us. Again, hit us up. Let us know what we missed, what you'd like us to talk more about, go in depth in. And again, it doesn't have to be a particular story. Not all of them have to be easily recognizable, like we, mentioned. And just hit us up. So this Omega saying peace.
Yo, peace. Peters.
And there you have it, folks. This has been Fanatically Correct. Until next time, you crazy kids. signing off.
Shields and swords. This bastard still hasn't given us shields and swords.